Welcome to the Rocket Roof Show, where we equip fellow roofers to do more commercial business every first and third Thursday of the month. It's time to launch your business to the next level.
This is Project Command. Stand by at power transfer.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
Thank you, everyone, for joining us here for another episode of the Rocket Roof Show. I'm standing in for Andy Neer today, and we've got a special guest for you, Gordon. Gordon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
You bet. Thanks, Jonathan. Great to be with you and your group this afternoon. The Alchemy Consulting Group is the name of our company. We started in 2003. We are primarily a marketing and business growth strategy firm. As you can imagine, when we started, the internet was still in its infancy, so a lot of the work we did was offline. Over the last 12 or 13 years, we've gravitated to about 80% of what we do for our clients is digital. The other 20% is more traditional ad agency work. Prior to this business, I built and sold 3 other companies in 3 different industries. And then this last year and a half, we have added a new division to Alchemy, and that's Alchemy Transitions. And with that division, we work with business owners to help them enhance the value of their company and position it for sale 2 to 5 to 8 years down the road, kind of whatever their plan is. So we do business growth, we do preparation for sale.
That's awesome. Well, we'll definitely be talking about both portions of what you focus on. First, let's talk about the marketing end of things. And for those that know me, I'm on the marketing side of things, so I think it's going to be a really good deep dive. What made you originally move into the marketing side?
I sold my last company in 2001 and was looking around for something to do. I met a couple of guys down in Dallas who were looking to build a national network of ad agencies, and they wanted to do all the fulfillment. And so I went through some of their training, and it really resonated well with me because the same things I had done in building my previous companies were the strategies that they talked about. Direct results marketing, not a lot of puffery and not a lot of traditional ad agency things that, give us $15,000 and we'll tell you what the results are when we need more money. Really direct results marketing, which I think is far preferable for a local business. 6 months later, their partnership broke up, but I had already met a couple of the other people who had gone through training. We started working together. That was in Denver, and have just grown it from there, have stayed with it. Really enjoy marketing. I enjoy the diversity of clients, meeting people from all across the country who have infant buildings to businesses to they've been in business for 15 or 20 years. It's just been a great run. We really enjoy it. We've built a strong team that backs us up. So it's been a good run.
Excellent. Well, I know that you work with a bunch of different roofers, so let's just focus on that aspect here a little bit, especially since most of our listeners here are owners of commercial roofing businesses or looking to grow their particular divisions within someone else's business. But I think probably one of my favorite questions would be, what is the most important but frequently overlooked marketing strategy for contractors?
I would say it's 2 things. One would be reputation marketing. A lot of times we get so busy running our business, we forget to go back and ask clients for that review, or our salespeople don't follow up after the job is finished in a way that produces that review. And that has become increasingly important. There were 2 surveys that came out last year from different national marketing agencies that talked about between 85 and 87% of people who are referred to a contractor will first go online and look for reviews. Well, if you think about that, Jonathan, that's almost 9 out of 10 people who would be referred to you are still going to go online to look for your reviews. So making sure you have a consistent flow of 4 and 5-star reviews is critically important. That social proof is what our prospects are looking for. The other component of reviews that people don't recognize is Google is also looking for those. Google gives preferential treatment in the search results to companies that have a strong base of reviews. So there's a double whammy there if you're not actively looking for reviews. The other thing that I think I see a lot of in talking with roofing contractors and looking at their current marketing is they really do a terrible job with their websites. If you look at a lot of the websites, they're going to have, the name of the company at the top. They may or may not have the phone number. And then there's going to be a lot of generalities like, we've been in business for 17 years and we do quality work and we clean our trucks every day. And, stuff that's absolutely meaningless to the typical prospect who's looking for a roof. Instead, what that website really needs to do is in the 3 to 5 seconds you have to capture someone's attention, it really needs to convey very strongly what your value proposition is. Why should someone continue to read your website? Why should they think about doing business with you? Why should they pay you the money that you think you're worth? How are you better than your competitors? Those are the kinds of things that need to be conveyed in really strong language. One of the things I would think we forget a lot because we're in the trade, we're used to dealing with our products. We forget that for most of our prospects, they may only do 2 or 3 roof jobs in their lifetime. And maybe it's been a long time since they had to order their last roof. They don't know the language. They don't know what new materials might be available. They don't know the techniques. They don't know what pricing is. They don't know how the insurance industry has changed so much as it reflects on roofing in the last couple of years. They've got all these questions. So if you approach them with a website that looks like everybody else's, that's just a lot of generalities and doesn't answer those questions that are in their mind, you've kind of lost the battle. Here's the way I suggest contractors think about it. If you hired a salesperson, and we've all gone through that routine, if you hire a salesperson, you're feeding leads to that salesperson, and after a couple of months, they're only closing 5% of the business you feed them, what are you going to do? You're probably going to fire that salesperson. Well, if you think about it, the majority of our advertising spend is directed at the website. That's your 24/7, 365 salesperson. And if that website isn't converting people, if it isn't taking them through the next step in their decision-making process and leading them to see that you are a better option amongst your competitors, then it's failed. Then you should fire your website.
We want to thank Top Roof Contractors again for their continuing sponsorship of the Rocket Roof Show. Membership in this organization includes reduced rates for commercial roofing leads, third-party verification to add credibility to your company, and a host of valuable benefits upon acceptance into the network. Learn more about them at toproofcontractors.com.
Wow, yeah, you made so many great points. I don't even know which one to start with, but yeah, that's all very foundational. Everybody needs to look at it through that lens, self-evaluate. I know everybody's busy, but you mentioned, it's available 365 days out of the year. It would be good to start now rather than later to clean that up and make sure that performs well, year after year from this point going forward.
We also see a lot of times a build it and forget it attitude towards a website. And I'm sure you see this in your business as well. If you're not updating that website, we suggest every couple of years it needs a refresh. Not a huge expensive rebuild, but just go back in and update that content, put some fresh photos in, just update it with the newest testimonials or newest case studies. Just give it a fresh look every couple of years. Consumers have become very sophisticated. And if they open up your website and it screams 2003 because of its old design, they're not going to take you very seriously. So you want to make sure that your website is that effective 24/7, 365 salesperson.
For sure. And pre-show, we were talking about paid advertising strategies, whether it's Google ads or Facebook ads. Why should a contractor consider one of these approaches?
Facebook advertising, and I think social media in general for the roofing industry, is a long-term branding play. It's really difficult to get a direct result from a Facebook ad. You can take them to a landing page, you can take them to a place where they get more information, but it's unusual that someone who's looking for a roof, particularly a commercial roof, is going to go to Facebook looking for roofers. AdWords, however, is a totally different game. If you think back just 30 months, The front page, page 1 in the Google search results, had 3 or 4 paid ads at the top. The right-hand column was all paid ads. There were another 3 or 4 at the bottom. 12, 14 ads would not be unusual in a lot of categories. Today, there's 3 or 4 at the top, and that's it. Recently, they started selling one paid position in the map pack, that area underneath the paid ads with the three businesses in it. But the whole reason that Google's doing this is to increase revenue. If there are only 4 slots to compete with, then they can raise the price on those. The internet has gotten to the point where you have to pay to play. Now, I say that knowing that there's contractors who are wincing right now because they got into AdWords at some point in the past. They either hired an agency who maybe didn't do a very effective job, or they turned it over to somebody in-house, or they engaged Google's support people to help them set up a campaign, and they didn't get great results. The ROI wasn't there. In many cases, they wound up paying far too much for a lead. But those things set aside, a properly designed AdWords campaign is probably the best way to generate prospects and leads for your business in today's market. I may not say that a year from now. I didn't say it 2 years ago. But the way the internet is today, you have to pay to play. Now, how do you get an effective AdWords campaign? Most people make the assumption that the company that's at the top of the page is paying the most. It's a pay to play kind of thing, so you must have to pay more to be at the top. The reality is positioning is based on the quality score. And that quality score is another one of Google's complex algorithms. There's at least 7 different key components that go into determining your quality score. But if you effectively create a campaign that includes landing pages that are relevant to whatever the ad is, you've got the site tags correctly placed in your ad, you're using negative keywords the proper way, you can get very profitable very quickly with Google AdWords. So Facebook advertising, yeah, you need some mixed into your overall social media campaigns if you have them, but Google AdWords is really important. Now, what about Bing and Yahoo and the other search engines? They account for roughly 25% of search volume. There's some new engines out there like DuckDuckGo is one that's gaining some traction. But the reality for the foreseeable future is Google's the 800-pound gorilla. And if you're going to spend money on advertising, you got to feed the bananas to the gorilla.
I like that. Yeah, and obviously you strategizing with roofers comes with a lot of benefits. You already know which keywords to go after and some of the things that really speak to their audience. Yeah,
we've handled, our AdWords team has handled over 10 million in ad spend, and we've worked with roofers since 2013. So, you know, we know the keywords, we know how to construct the proper landing pages. Most of the time, if it's a new niche, it can take 6 to 15 weeks to really test the ads and hone things down so that you're getting that effective ROI for a client. With roofers, we've been doing it for so long, we're pretty effective at getting them an ROI in the first 3 to 5 weeks. So,
well, I just remember when we got into the direct mail business, and really our claim to fame on that end is sending out millions of mailers all over the country and figuring out what works, what doesn't. Obviously, things shift over time. And to just start out with a blank page for those that aren't in the space, it can be pretty difficult to get lucky, particularly if they're going up against industry titans such as yourself working with their competitors.
Yeah, AdWords is a specialized skill. You know, if an agency is going to branch into AdWords, they really need to spend some time studying it. They probably need to go steal one of my people or somebody else's team that's really well experienced, because it takes time to learn, and you don't want to burn through client money while you're learning. It's a good way to lose clients.
Well, I couldn't agree more, but let's talk about the ultimate goal. So obviously doing marketing is important. Having new prospects to work with is important if you're going to keep a thriving business. A lot of times the focus is just on getting leads because maybe there isn't a good system in place to ensure the long-term growth, or maybe every week just kind of seems to be a struggle. ultimately at this show, we want to do so much more than help contractors get through the next week or the next year. We're really helping them build a full foundation. And I think that and I think that really leads us to our next side of the conversation, which is setting up your business as an inheritance or a future sale. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into that. And I was told, through our discussions that the majority of businesses that are offered for sale don't even sell. And my guess is those businesses weren't prepared to sell one day, and it's not something you can do very quickly. So I'd love to hear your insights on that.
Yeah, great topic. Let's start with that. I've seen statistics as high as 90% of the businesses listed never sell. I think the truth is probably closer to 70, which is still disappointing for a whole lot of business owners. And there's a wide variety of reasons for that. You're right, sometimes the business just isn't prepared to sell. Other times the owner has overvalued what he thinks it's worth and the market doesn't support it. Bank financing falls through regularly. But one of the real things that we see happen most frequently is an owner will get an offer, 3 times annual revenue. So he's thinking, wow, this is going to be great for my retirement. But then as the acquiring company starts doing their due diligence, they keep chiseling away at that. And it finally winds up at like 1.6 times. And oh, by the way, you're going to have to stay on for the next 24 months and do an earnout before we can pay you all of that. And so the sellers, their balloon is burst. They just say, oh, to heck with it, I'm going to keep my business rather than sell it for that. So there's a lot of reasons that a business sale doesn't go through. One of the things that we do as we help business owners add value to their business is constantly coaching them to look at their business through the eyes of an acquiring entity. As business owners, we are justifiably proud of all the things that we've done. And so we're looking in the rearview mirror most of the time. We're looking at the great organization we've built, our key team members. We're looking at the quality service we've done over the last 20 years or however many. We're looking at a steadily increasing flow of revenue, our position in the community. There's lots of things that we've done in building our business that we're justifiably proud of. Those have almost zero meaning to a company or an individual who's looking to buy the business. What they're looking for is, what's the future potential of this business? If I buy this business and replace the owner, am I going to have a job or am I buying an investment? How many of the owner's key people are going to stay on, or am I going to have to start a new business with a whole new team? How much should I discount the cash flow of this business to get the ROI that I'm looking for? So an acquirer is looking with a very different set of glasses at your business.
For sure. Yeah, that really puts it in perspective. A lot of times we're too focused on what we've built, what makes it special. And like you mentioned, if the person steps away, what could change? It really makes sense why someone would want some kind of earn-out agreement. And of course, there's a lot of great ways of building value in the business early on. Like you mentioned, reputation marketing. Probably doesn't matter how much your sales are if it's so hard to get them because your reviews are so bad, or other factors.
We've seen medical practices get discounted by as much as 50% because they had a star rating under 3. So you're exactly right, Jonathan, that reputation is critically important. But we've worked with 63,000 businesses over the last 12 years, not me personally, but our group of consultants. So based on that, we've got a lot of data and have been able to define what we call value builders, and 8 different ones. Let me just profile a couple of them really quickly. One we call Switzerland structure. It doesn't apply as much to contractors as it does to manufacturing, but what we mean by Switzerland structure is your business is overly dependent on any one employee or vendor or customer. A lot of times in manufacturing, you might have a primary customer that accounts for 35 or 40% of your annual sales. Well, the number we're looking to make sure we don't exceed is 15%. So no more than 15% of your sales are to any one customer, which isn't a problem in the roofing space. But where it can be a problem is heavy reliance on 1 or 2 key people. We're working with a client right now whose entire business flows through two managers. I mean, everything, the owner is disconnected from it. Everything flows through those two people. If I'm looking to buy his company, I need to make sure those two people are going to stay with me for at least 2 years. So that's a case where there's too much dependence. On a vendor, again, you don't want to be totally dependent on one supplier. So Switzerland structure is one of the tools we use. Probably the one that's the most difficult for contractors is what we call hub and spoke. And it should be easy to visualize what this is. The business owner is the hub in the center, and all the decisions, all the finances, everything flows through the owner. People are not necessarily empowered to make decisions of any size. The owner's the focal point for everything. And the reason that's a problem when it comes to adding value or selling your business is unless you're selling to somebody who says, oh boy, I want to pay a lot of money and buy a job, that's a real distraction. They don't want to buy your business because they don't want a job. They want an investment. So hub and spoke is a difficult one for contractors because we're so used to running our business, so used to making decisions. Now, the larger companies that we've worked with, you know, the 30 and 40 and $50 million contractors, they're a little more diversified. But, you know, the company that's in that $2 to $15 million range, the owner is still very actively involved in hands-on day-to-day management. And over time, we need to distribute some of that to enhance the value of that business. One of the more interesting value builders is what we call customer score. And it's taking a simple survey of all of your customers, but it's a different kind of survey than most of us would take on our own. Typically, we're asking, well, did we answer the phone within the first 3 rings? Was our salesperson polite? Did the crew clean up properly afterwards, after the job was finished? You know, those kinds of questions. Again, those are meaningless to an acquirer. The one question that we ask on our surveys as we're working with clients is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this business to your family or friends? It's the only question we ask. Now, this is based on some work that was done by a man named Frank Wechel about 60 years ago. And he studied consumer surveys for 20 some years. And what he realized was that this one question had a direct correlation to the value of the business. And there's a formula that he came up with that yields what he calls a net promoter score. And if that net promoter score is in the 10 to 15% range, you're average. If it's above that, then you're better than average. And what that says to an acquirer is you have a base of happy, pleased customers who are ready to recommend you. And that's going to help them as they acquire the business. Interesting study. You may be familiar with Eventbrite. They've really burst onto the scene the last couple of years. It's a way to invite people to events, to get tickets, that kind of thing. Eventbrite focused on net promoter score, and recently, as a 6 or 7 year old company, recently had a valuation of over $2 billion because their net promoter score is 70 something. It's in the stratosphere. If you can get your net promoter score to the 25 or 30 range, you're doing an incredibly good job. But net promoter score is another one of the ways that we build value for our clients.
Understood. And just looking at the demographics of our listeners, many of them are in their 30s or 40s. It may be another 20 years before they're ready to sell their business. And you've already presented so many good tips of how to get that mindset right. But kind of dialing it back, more earlier in the various stages, what would be some of your best advice for those that would like to sell it one day rather than just close things down when they're ready to retire?
Even if you're not thinking of selling in the foreseeable future, just spending a year learning how to add value to your company. And I say a year because we have a 12-month program. Spending a year learning how to add value to your company, implementing some of these ideas with your team, and then growing your business along those guidelines. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you will reap the benefits, no question. The things that we teach to build value aren't just for an acquirer, they also build value for that business owner who wants to maybe step back. Even if you're 35 or 40, sometimes you just get really tired of working those 60-hour weeks. And if you could build value in your business and run that business in 30 or 40 hours a week and have that extra time to do other things, that's a huge benefit. So, what we leverage in our program is building value in the business, but also enhancing quality of life for the business owner. So again, two things that we can help with.
Wonderful. So for those that would like more information about the program or to reach out to you, where should we point our listeners?
Alchemytransitions.com, ALCHEMY transitions.com is that side of our business. And then our marketing side is the alchemyconsultinggroup.com.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Gordon, for joining us on the show. Definitely provides a whole nother level of perspective on the marketing side and a future sale of a roofing business in particular. It's always great having guests on that actually work with lots of roofers and understand the unique challenges and opportunities. So thanks again so much for joining us, and we appreciate it.
My pleasure. Great to see you.
You've been listening to the Rocket Roof Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe through your favorite podcasting platforms such as iTunes or Google Play to get the latest episodes as they are launched. For more, please follow us on social media or visit our website at rocketroofshow.com. We look forward to joining you here again soon at the next launch.